The rain had been falling steadily for hours, drumming softly against the stained glass windows of the old chapel. Its golden light, flickering against the wet stone, cast long shadows across the pews. Emma hurried inside, shaking off her umbrella, her coat damp and heavy with water. She had never been here before, but something about the small village whispered to her, and she had followed that whisper like a moth to a flame. Inside, the chapel smelled of wax and old wood, comforting yet mysterious. Candles lined the altar in neat rows, their flames dancing like tiny spirits. Emma's footsteps echoed softly as she moved closer to the front. She paused, drawn to the way the light seemed to bend and shimmer around a single, unlit candle in the center. It was taller than the rest, carved with delicate patterns she couldn't quite decipher. A sound made her turn sharply. A figure stepped out from behind a column. He was tall, with dark hair that seemed almost black in the candle light, and eyes that held a quiet intensity. "You shouldn't be here," he said softly, though there was no anger in his voice, only curiosity. Emma's heart skipped a beat. I just wanted to see the chapel. I've heard it's beautiful at night." He studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. "It is. But some things are better left unseen." A chill ran down her spine. There was something in his voice that suggested he knew secrets she wasn't supposed to know. Something about the way he moved, silent yet deliberate, made her feel both nervous and drawn to him at the same time. "Do you live here?" she asked hesitantly. He smiled faintly, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Something like that. I take care of the chapel." He paused, then gestured toward the unlit candle. "And that candle is not ordinary. It's been here longer than anyone can remember. Some say it holds a secret, waiting for the right person to discover it." Emma's curiosity flared. "A secret?" "Yes. A secret," he repeated, stepping closer. "But not everyone is ready to find it." Her pulse quickened. There was something in the way he said it, a quiet warning, yet it called to her in a way she couldn't resist. She felt a strange pull toward the candle, as if it were alive, waiting for her touch. The man's gaze softened slightly. "Most people leave the chapel without noticing it. But some are different. They see what others cannot." He reached out, his fingers brushing the side of the candle. The wax seemed to shimmer under his touch, a faint golden glow rising from its surface. Emma's breath caught. How is that possible?" He looked at her intently, his eyes like deep pools of shadow and light. "Some things cannot be explained. Some things must be felt." For a moment, silence fell. The sound of the rain outside, the flicker of candle light, and the soft thrum of her own heartbeat filled the chapel. Emma felt as though time had paused, holding its breath with her. "I feel like I'm supposed to do something," she whispered, her voice trembling. He nodded. "Perhaps you are. But be careful, Emma. Once a secret is revealed, there's no going back." The air seemed charged, heavy with anticipation. Emma took a hesitant step forward. She could feel the warmth of the candle's glow, the magnetic pull it had over her. Something told her that whatever lay ahead would change her life forever. And at that moment, she knew she was ready to uncover the secret in the candlelit shape. Emma's hand hovered above the candle, hesitant, as if the flame itself might leap out and speak to her. The caretaker, his name, she had learned, was Adrian, stood a few steps away, watching her with an intensity that made her pulse race. The golden glow of the single candle flickered and danced across his face, highlighting sharp cheekbones and eyes that seemed to pierce through shadows. Go on, he said softly. Light it? Emma's fingers brushed the wick, and instantly a warm glow spread through her hands, seeping into her skin as if the candle recognized her touch. She gasped softly, drawing back for a moment, but the warmth was not frightening, it was inviting, comforting. The room seemed to hold its breath around her, and the scent of wax mixed with something faintly floral, like a memory she couldn't name. Do you feel it? Adrian's voice was barely above a whisper. Yes, she breathed. It feels alive. Adrian nodded. It is. That candle holds more than light. It holds a story, a memory, a secret. And tonight, perhaps, it will share it with you. Emma's curiosity burned brighter than the candle itself. A secret? What kind of secret? Adrian smiled faintly, a shadow of something hidden behind his expression. That is for the candle to reveal. You can't force it. You must simply be ready to see. She shivered, not from cold, but from anticipation. Something about him, about this place, felt like the threshold of something extraordinary. She had wandered through old villages before, through ancient buildings that smelled of history, but never had she felt such a pull toward a single object, toward a single moment. The chapel was quiet except for the rain outside, tapping lightly against the stained glass. Emma's eyes traveled over the flickering light, over the tall, carved candle, and then to Adrian. He stepped closer, his presence almost overwhelming, yet strangely protective. May I? He asked, and without waiting for an answer, he reached out. But instead of touching the candle, his fingers brushed hers, and a spark of warmth surged between them. Emma felt a shiver run down her spine, but it wasn't fear, it was something else. Something she couldn't name. Suddenly, the candle flared brightly, illuminating the chapel in a golden brilliance. Shadows danced along the walls, twisting and turning as if alive. Emma blinked, and in the flicker of light, she thought she saw images moving within the wax faces, landscapes, moments in time that seemed to reach out for her attention. It's showing me, she whispered, her voice trembling. I can see people, places, things I don't understand. Adrian's gaze remained fixed on her, steady and encouraging. It's the past, the memories trapped in the candle. They are waiting for someone who can witness them, someone who can feel them. Emma's heartbeat quickened. She reached forward again, her fingers touching the warm wax. The images grew clearer, swirling around her mind like water currents, pulling her deeper. She saw a woman in a flowing dress, standing at the same altar centuries ago, lighting a candle that glowed with a similar golden hue. She saw whispered conversations, secret meetings, and symbols carved into the wood that she had not noticed before. It's a story, Emma breathed. A hidden story. Adrian stepped closer, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. Yes. And stories have power. They can heal, guide, or change the course of someone's life. That candle, it has been waiting for you. Emma looked at him, her eyes wide. Me? Why me? Because you are ready, he said simply. Some secrets choose their witnesses. Some stories need someone to carry them forward. That's why you came here tonight. The warmth of the candle seeped into her hands and arms, spreading like a gentle tide through her entire body. She felt a strange calmness, a sense of purpose she had never known before. Yet beneath it, there was an undercurrent of tension, a warning that this secret was not simple, and that discovering it would change her in ways she could not yet imagine. Adrian stepped back slightly, giving her space. You can linger with it as long as you like, he said. But remember, every secret has a cost. Sometimes the hardest part is deciding what to do once it is revealed. Emma swallowed hard, her gaze fixed on the candle. She didn't know what that cost might be, but she felt ready, or at least, ready enough. Something told her that tonight was only the beginning, that the story held within the candle would draw her into a world she had never known, and that Adrian, mysterious and darkly magnetic, would be part of that journey. The chapel, once quiet and still, now hummed with life, the subtle, secret life of memories waiting to be awakened. Emma exhaled slowly, feeling the pull of destiny wrap around her like the gentle flicker of candlelight. And somewhere deep in the wax, the secret waited, patient and eternal, for the next step she would take. The candle's glow had softened, but the warmth still lingered in Emma's hands, spreading a gentle, almost hypnotic heat through her body. She stepped back slightly, letting the sensation settle over her, letting the images from the wax echo in her mind. Faces, voices, and whispers mingled with the sound of rain outside, leaving her both breathless and enchanted. Adrian moved closer, his presence a quiet anchor in the swirl of her thoughts. "You saw more than most," he said, his voice low, almost reverent. "Most people glimpse nothing. You're different." Emma met his eyes, wide with curiosity and something else she couldn't quite name, an unspoken connection that made her heart flutter. "Different how?" she asked softly. He smiled faintly. "You notice. You feel. You don't just look, you understand that there is more beneath the surface. That's why the candle chose you." She hesitated, wondering if chose was the right word, yet somehow it felt true. She had come into the chapel on a whim, following an instinct she hadn't understood at the time. Now, every step seemed preordained, every glance a thread pulling her closer to something she had been searching for without knowing it. "Show me more," she whispered, almost instinctively. Adrian's gaze darkened with a mixture of caution and intrigue. "The candle reveals its secret slowly. You must be patient. And you must be careful. Some truths are not meant to be uncovered all at once." Emma nodded, trying to steady her racing heart. She felt the candle's pull again, stronger this time, almost like it was calling to her very soul. She took another step forward, reaching for it once more. As her fingers brushed the wax, a ripple of light spread outward, illuminating the chapel in soft golden hues. The images returned, sharper and clearer now. She saw the woman in the flowing dress again, but this time she was not alone. A man stood beside her, tall and regal, his face shadowed but familiar. They spoke in hushed tones, their gestures urgent and meaningful. Emma's pulse quickened, the scene felt alive, as if she were witnessing a hidden moment frozen in time. "Who are they?" she asked, turning to Adrian. He looked thoughtful, his eyes distant. "The woman was the caretaker of the chapel long before me. She discovered the candle's secret, but she could not share it. The man was part of a story that began centuries ago. Their fates were bound by this place, just as yours might be." Emma shivered at the weight of his words. "Bound? What do you mean?" Adrian stepped closer, the faint scent of wood and candle wax mixing with something else, something warm and inviting. "Some secrets are tied to people, not just objects. The candle holds memories, yes, but it also chooses its witnesses. Those who are drawn here are never accidental." Emma's gaze returned to the candle, her fingers tracing the carved patterns. There was something in them, something almost imperceptible, like a map or a message meant only for those who could see beyond the surface. She leaned in closer, her eyes scanning the delicate lines, feeling a strange resonance in her chest. "Can it speak to me?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Adrian shook his head slowly. "Not in words. It speaks through feeling, through vision, through understanding. You must listen with more than your ears. You must listen with your heart." Emma closed her eyes, letting the warmth of the candle seep into her mind and soul. She felt images, emotions, and whispers swirl inside her. The woman in the dress, her joy, her fear, her longing flowed into Emma as if they were one. The man's presence, strong and protective, brushed against her thoughts, and for a moment, Emma felt herself standing in the past, witnessing a secret love that had been hidden for centuries. When she opened her eyes, Adrian was closer still, watching her with that quiet intensity that made her heart race. "You are ready for the next step," he said softly. "But you must promise to be brave. The secret is not without its shadows." Emma met his gaze, her own filled with determination. "I'm ready," she said, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. "Whatever it is, I want to see it." A faint smile curved Adrian's lips, a mixture of pride and caution. "Very well. Then tonight, you will begin to understand why the candle chose you. But remember, once a secret is known, it cannot be forgotten." The chapel seemed to hum with anticipation. The rain had slowed, leaving behind a gentle rhythm that mirrored the beating of Emma's heart. The candle's flame flickered higher, as if sensing her resolve, and she felt a strange, exhilarating thrill course through her body. This was no longer just curiosity. This was destiny calling. And Emma, standing in the candlelit chapel, knew that she could no longer turn back. The secret waited. And tonight, she would step closer than ever before. The candle's glow pulsed softly, as if it were breathing. Emma's fingers lingered over the warm wax, and for the first time, she felt as though it was responding to her. Images swirled inside her mind, more vivid than ever before, like threads of a tapestry she could almost touch. The woman in the flowing dress moved gracefully across the chapel in those visions, her eyes filled with hope, and the man's presence loomed near, protective yet distant. Adrian watched quietly, his expression unreadable. "You are seeing more than most," he said. "But beware, there is truth in what you see, and not all truths are easy to bear." Emma nodded, though her heart raced with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. She wanted to ask him more, to understand what bound these people to the chapel, but she could sense that rushing would spoil the moment. Instead, she focused on the candle, letting its warmth seep deeper into her, guiding her vision. Suddenly, the wax seemed to ripple like water, and the images shifted. Now she saw the chapel in its earliest days, when it was little more than a wooden sanctuary with rough-hewn pews. People moved through it in hushed reverence, their faces solemn yet filled with hope. And there, at the very center, stood the woman different from the visions before, her eyes locked on something hidden beneath the altar. Emma leaned closer, feeling the pull stronger than ever. "What is she looking at?" she whispered. Adrian's gaze softened. She discovered a hidden compartment beneath the altar. Something meant to be kept safe for generations. "That is the heart of the secret." Emma's pulse quickened. "A hidden compartment? What's inside it?" Adrian's eyes held a shadow of sadness. "That, I cannot tell you. The candle will reveal what is ready to be revealed. And not before." Emma's hands trembled slightly. The air felt charged, thick with anticipation. She pressed her fingers into the wax once more, closing her eyes and letting herself sink into the vision. She could almost feel the woman's pulse, her nervous excitement, her fear of discovery. She sensed the weight of responsibility, the gravity of holding a secret so powerful that it spanned centuries. The candle flared brighter, and Emma felt herself pulled fully into the memory. She was no longer just an observer, she felt the woman's heartbeat echoing within her, the same thrill, the same fear, the same courage. She understood, in a way that went beyond thought, why the secret had chosen her. When she opened her eyes, Adrian was closer, almost beside her, but careful not to touch. His presence was steady, reassuring, and yet, it stirred something else within her, a warmth that had nothing to do with the candle. "You feel it too, don't you?" she asked softly. Adrian's gaze met hers, and for a moment, the shadows in his eyes softened. "I feel it every time someone begins to see what the candle holds. It is a privilege, and a burden." Emma swallowed hard. "A privilege and a burden." "Yes," he said quietly. "The secret changes everything. Those who uncover it are forever connected to it. You can never go back to who you were before. And sometimes, the truth tests you in ways you cannot imagine." Her heart beat faster, a mixture of fear and longing coursing through her. She wanted to ask what he meant, wanted to press him for answers, but something in the way he looked at her made her pause. There was trust there, yes, but also a warning. A challenge. The candle's light flickered again, and a new image appeared. This time, it was a key, small and ornate, lying within the hidden compartment. Emma's breath caught. She felt the pull of destiny stronger than ever, as though the key and the story it unlocked were meant for her alone. Adrian stepped closer, his voice low and intimate. "The key is the gateway to the truth. But be careful, Emma. Some doors, once opened, cannot be closed." Emma's fingers brushed the candle, and a spark of courage surged through her. "I'm ready," she said firmly, though her heart raced with anticipation and uncertainty. "Whatever it takes, I want to know." For the first time, Adrian's lips curved into a genuine smile. "Then the next step awaits," he said. "And it is not without its dangers, and its rewards." The chapel seemed alive around them, the golden glow of the candle illuminating every carved pattern, every hidden shadow. The rain outside had softened into a gentle drizzle, tapping lightly against the stained glass like a heartbeat. Emma felt her destiny tugging at her, pulling her forward, into a story she could never have imagined and into a night that would change everything. And as the candle flickered, whispering secrets only she could hear, Emma realized that some mysteries were meant to be embraced, not feared. The golden glow of the candle filled the chapel with a soft, almost magical light. Emma's fingers lingered over its warm surface, her mind still reeling from the visions of the past, the hidden key, the woman, the man, and the secret that had waited centuries to be discovered. She felt a mixture of anticipation and nervousness, knowing that the next step would change everything. Adrian stepped closer, his presence steady and comforting, yet charged with a subtle intensity that made her heart beat faster. "The candle has shown you the key," he said softly. "Now you must decide, will you seek it?" Emma took a deep breath. "Yes. I need to know. I can feel that this is important. Not just for me, but for someone, or something that came before." Adrian nodded approvingly. "Very well. But remember, the key is not just an object. It is a test of trust and courage. Only those who are ready, and willing to act with care, will succeed." Emma's eyes returned to the candle. Its glow seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, as if urging her forward. She traced the carved patterns again, looking for anything she might have missed. And then she saw it, a tiny notch at the base of the candle, barely visible, as if deliberately hidden from casual eyes. Her pulse quickened. Could this be the clue leading to the key? She knelt carefully, her fingers brushing against the base of the candle. The warmth intensified, spreading through her palms and into her arms. She pressed gently on the notch, and with a soft click, a hidden compartment opened beneath the candle. Inside lay a small, ornate box, its surface engraved with intricate designs that mirrored those on the candle itself. Emma's breath caught. She lifted the box carefully, feeling the weight of its history. It was surprisingly heavy, and she could sense that whatever lay inside was more than just a simple object. Adrian watched her closely. "Are you ready?" he asked. Emma nodded, though her hands trembled slightly. She opened the box, and inside rested the key, small, delicate, and glowing faintly in the candle light. Its metal surface seemed almost alive, as if it had absorbed centuries of secret energy. Emma held it carefully, feeling a strange warmth radiate from it, like the pulse of a hidden heart. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Adrian's eyes softened. "Yes. But beauty is only one part of its power. That key opens more than doors, it unlocks truths, memories, and stories that were never meant to be forgotten." Emma's mind raced. The candle, the visions, the hidden compartments all pointed to something far greater than she had imagined. Yet alongside her excitement was a subtle tension, a sense that the journey ahead would test her in ways she could not yet see. Where does it lead?" she asked. Adrian stepped closer, his hand brushing hers as he gestured toward the altar. "To the heart of the chapel's secret. But the path is not straightforward. You will face puzzles, discoveries, and moments that challenge what you think you know." Emma's pulse quickened. She could feel the weight of destiny pressing on her, yet the thought did not frighten her. Instead, it filled her with a fierce determination. She had come this far, she could not turn back now. As she held the key, she noticed Adrian's gaze linger on her in a way that made her cheeks warm. There was something unspoken in that look, a mixture of trust, admiration, and perhaps something more. Emma felt a subtle thrill, a connection that went beyond the mystery of the candle. "Then we begin," she said, her voice steady despite the excitement coursing through her. Adrian nodded, his expression unreadable but approving. "Yes. But remember, the secret watches, and it knows more than we do. Move carefully, and listen closely. The chapel will guide you, but only if you are willing to follow." Emma slipped the key into her pocket, feeling its warmth against her skin. The candle's light seemed to glow brighter, almost as if it recognized her determination. She felt a strange confidence, a sense that the path ahead was hers to walk, but not alone. The chapel was silent except for the soft dripping of rain outside and the faint hum of candle light. Emma stood, feeling the pull of the hidden stories, the unspoken histories, and the adventure that awaited her. The secret of the candle had chosen her, and she had accepted its call. Adrian stepped beside her, and for the first time, their proximity carried a quiet intimacy that neither of them acknowledged with words but both felt deeply. The journey ahead would be filled with mystery, challenge, and perhaps even danger, but also discovery, wonder, and connection. Emma inhaled slowly, her gaze fixed on the altar. The secret waited, patient and eternal. And tonight, she would take the first real step into its heart, unlocking a story that had slept for centuries and, in doing so, discovering a part of herself she had never known. The candle flickered, casting long shadows across the chapel, and Emma felt the thrill of destiny wrap around her like the warm embrace of light itself. Emma's fingers curled around the key in her pocket, its warmth pulsing faintly against her skin. The chapel, bathed in the golden glow of the candles, seemed alive in a way she had never experienced before. Shadows shifted across the walls, whispering secrets only she could feel, and the faint scent of wax mingled with something faintly floral, like a memory pressing through time. Adrian stood beside her, quiet but steady. "The key is more than it seems," he said softly. "It will guide you, but it will not give its secrets easily. You must listen with more than your ears, and see with more than your eyes." Emma nodded, her pulse quickening. She had felt the pull of the candle, the weight of the secret it protected, and now the key in her hand seemed to hum with possibility. "I understand," she whispered. "I'll be careful. I want to know the truth." Adrian's gaze lingered on her for a moment longer than necessary, and she felt a warmth spread through her chest. There was something in the way he looked at her, a mixture of trust, encouragement, and something unspoken that made her heart flutter. But the mystery of the chapel pulled her attention back, anchoring her in the task at hand. "Follow me," Adrian said, stepping toward the altar. The rain outside had slowed, leaving behind a quiet rhythm that mirrored the steady beat of Emma's heart. He knelt, pressing the key into a small, hidden slot beneath the altar. A soft click echoed through the chapel, and a narrow panel slid open, revealing a dark passageway that seemed to descend into the earth. Emma's breath caught. "A hidden passage." Adrian nodded. "The candle, the key, everything here was meant to be protected. Only someone who could feel the secret, someone who could understand it, could find this path." She peered into the darkness, feeling a thrill of anticipation and a flutter of nervousness. Her instincts told her that stepping into the passage was more than a physical act, it was a symbolic one. She was entering the heart of the chapel's mystery, and once she did, there would be no turning back. "I'm ready," she said, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. Adrian extended his hand, and she took it without hesitation. The warmth of his palm was reassuring, grounding her as they stepped into the passage together. The candle light faded behind them, leaving only the faint glow of the key embedded in the wall to guide their way. The tunnel was narrow but sturdy, lined with stone and faintly damp from the earth around it. Emma's steps echoed softly, and every sound seemed magnified in the quiet. Her mind raced with questions. What had been hidden here? What story had the candle protected for centuries? And why had it chosen her, of all people, to uncover it? Adrian walked beside her, silent but watchful, his presence both comforting and thrilling. Emma couldn't help but steal glances at him, noticing the way his dark eyes seemed to hold centuries of knowledge, and yet softened whenever they met hers. There was an unspoken connection between them, an intimacy that had grown steadily since she first touched the candle. "Are we far?" Emma asked, her voice low. "Not much further," Adrian replied. "But be prepared. The secret is protected, not just by walls or keys, but by the memories and intentions of those who came before. It will test you, and it will challenge you." Emma nodded, determination hardening in her chest. She had already felt the pull of the secret, the weight of history pressing gently against her heart. Whatever lay ahead, she was ready to face it, to understand it, and to embrace it. The passage opened into a small chamber, lit by a faint, ethereal glow that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. Symbols and carvings adorned the stone, echoing patterns she had seen on the candle and the key. In the center of the room lay a stone pedestal, and atop it rested an ancient book, bound in worn leather and etched with intricate designs. Emma's breath caught. This was at the heart of the secret. She approached the pedestal cautiously, feeling the weight of centuries in the room. Every step seemed deliberate, every moment charged with anticipation. Adrian stood behind her, silent but attentive. The book contains the truth of the candle, and the story of those it has chosen. But remember, Emma, knowledge is powerful, and it is responsibility. What you read here will change you. Emma nodded, her fingers trembling slightly as she reached for the book. The glow of the chamber reflected in her eyes, and in that moment, she understood the gravity of what she was about to uncover. The candle had led her here, the key had opened the way, and the secret of the chapel was finally within her reach. She lifted the book, feeling the energy of the ages hum beneath her fingers. And as she opened the first page, she felt the story begin to speak not in words alone, but in emotions, memories, and visions that flowed directly into her heart. Tonight, the candle's secret would finally begin to reveal itself, and Emma would be forever changed. Emma's hands trembled slightly as she turned the first page of the ancient book. Its leather cover smelled faintly of wax and time, and the glow of the chamber made the gold-etched letters shimmer as if alive. She felt the pull of centuries of memories pouring into her, the emotions of those who had once guarded the chapel, and the quiet, unbroken thread of the secret that had waited for her. Adrian stood behind her, silent, letting her discover at her own pace. His presence was steady and reassuring, yet it carried a subtle electricity, a connection that had grown stronger with every shared glance and every whispered word since the night she first entered the chapel. The pages revealed a story of devotion, courage, and love, a tale of a woman entrusted with the candle's secret, whose life was bound to the chapel, and a man who had shared her purpose and protected her from afar. Emma saw their hopes and fears, their struggles to guard something powerful and delicate, and she realized the depth of what had been entrusted to her. "The secret," Emma whispered, her voice trembling. "It's not just a story. It's a legacy." Adrian nodded. "Yes. The candle preserves memories, yes, but more than that, it carries responsibility. It chooses someone who can understand, someone who can continue the story without fear. You were chosen for a reason." Emma's gaze met his. The intensity of his eyes, the quiet strength in his presence, made her heart swell. "And, what happens now? What am I supposed to do with it?" "You keep it alive," Adrian said softly. "You honor the stories. You protect the candle, just as those before you did. And you follow where it leads, guided by its light and your own heart." A sense of purpose settled over Emma. She felt the weight of the secret, yes, but also its warmth, its power, and its beauty. The candle had chosen her not to frighten her, but to trust her, to ask her to carry something extraordinary into the future. She ran her fingers along the pages of the book, feeling the pulse of history beneath her touch. Each story, each memory, had a rhythm that resonated with her own heartbeat. It was as if the chapel itself had welcomed her, wrapping her in a connection that spanned generations. Adrian stepped closer, and this time, there was no need for words. Their hands brushed, fingers intertwining naturally. Emma felt a thrill surge through her, warm and grounding at once. The chapel's secret had drawn them together in ways she hadn't expected, and she understood now that the human connection, the trust, the quiet intimacy was part of the magic of this place. "You've done more than witness the secret," Adrian said, his voice low and earnest. "You've become part of it. And that is why it can now move forward." Emma nodded, feeling a mixture of awe and gratitude. The candle's flame flickered above them, casting soft shadows across the chamber, and she felt its energy settling into her hands, as if welcoming her acceptance. She had stepped into a story older than herself and emerged as its new guardian, ready to continue its legacy. For a moment, the chapel seemed to hold its breath. The shadows, the glow, the faint scent of wax and earth all combined to create a sense of timelessness, a feeling that the past and present were intertwined, and that Emma stood at the center of it. She looked at Adrian, her eyes reflecting both wonder and a newfound confidence. "I understand now," she said. "I'll protect it. I'll honor it. And I'll follow where it leads." He smiled, a gentle, reassuring smile that reached his eyes. "Then the secret is safe. And so are you." Emma glanced at the candle one last time, its flame flickering softly, as if acknowledging her promise. The visions, the warmth, the pull of destiny, they were all still there, lingering in her mind and heart. She felt connected to something greater than herself, a story that would continue through her, guided by her courage and her choices. As she and Adrian stepped out of the chamber, the rain outside had stopped, leaving the village bathed in soft moonlight. The chapel stood quietly, its secrets resting for the moment, waiting patiently for the next chapter. Emma held the key carefully, the weight of it both tangible and symbolic. She knew her life had changed forever, shaped by the candle's secret, the memories she had seen, and the bond she had formed with Adrian. And as they walked together toward the door, the golden light of the candle still flickering behind them, Emma felt a quiet certainty. Some secrets were meant to be discovered, to guide, to connect, and this one, this extraordinary secret in the Candlelit chapel, had chosen her perfectly. The night was still, the chapel's mysteries held safely in her hands, and Emma knew that whatever came next, she was ready.